Hi, this is Ed Fitzpatrick. If you enjoy local politics as much as I do, be sure to join our friends at Rhode Island PBS for the show A Lively Experiment. Hosted by Jim Hummel, the weekly series features journalists, pundits, and politicians debating the stories and issues that matter most to us Rhode Islanders. Tune in to A Lively Experiment and be part of the conversation. Fridays at 7 p.m. on Rhode Island PBS and wherever you get your podcasts. From the Boston Globe, this is Rhode Island Report. I'm Ed Fitzpatrick. Welcome back to the podcast where we bring you big conversations from our very small state. There's a new leadership team at the Rhode Island Senate. Senator Frank Ciccone became the Democratic Majority Leader late last month, succeeding Senator Valarie Lawson, who's now Senate President. He's here to talk about a proposed ban on assault weapons, smoking in casinos, taxing the rich, and other hot topics. All right, Senator Frank Ciccone, congratulations on being elected Senate Majority Leader, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Is that congratulations or condolences?
We'll find out.
All right.
Let's start with one of the hot topics at the State House in the past week, a ban on assault-style weapons. The Senate Judiciary Committee heard hours of testimony the other day on that bill, and the sponsor, Senator Lou DePalma, told the committee that 24 of the 37 senators are co-sponsors. Are you one of them? And if not, why do you oppose it?
I did not sign on to it because the bill that Senator DePalma put in, I didn't think it was constitutional. It had some language in it that I don't think would have passed muster.
Yeah, what's your concern? Because he told the committee that, quote, banning assault-style weapons is categorically constitutional. What do you say to that?
Well, I believe he had a registry in there, which has already been found to be illegal and unconstitutional. So we started with that, and then he had a list of probably every single type of weapon you could think of. So I mentioned it to him. I looked at it, and I said, Lou, this looks like an old bill rehashed. So I'm going to pass on it, and we'll wait.
The Senate Judiciary Committee appears to be evenly split on that bill, 5-5. Would you be willing to use your ex officio powers as Majority Leader to get that bill to the Senate floor for a vote?
I believe the committee did its due diligence the other night. We're still waiting to see what the companion bill from the House will be. From what I'm hearing, it might be some changes to it. Obviously, we do not want our bill to be different from their bill, so we would have to look at what's coming over and then match it up with our bill to see what changes might be needed, if any.
Yeah, House Speaker Shekarchi mentioned the registry, and I think the idea is that might be amended out of the bill. If that comes out, is it palatable, or do you have other concerns?
I believe there were some other items that might be changed in there. Like I'm saying, this is all rumored between one side of the building to the other. So to say what I, use my powers to go in as ex officio, I'd probably have to see what the bill is first. And
did you attend that press conference where Senate Republican leader Jessica De La Cruz and others denounced the assault weapons ban?
I stepped into the room for a while along with my majority whip,
David Tikoyan.
Tikoyan. I listened to Senator Padalano give his little speech on it, and then I had to get called to a meeting, so I left.
What did you think of what you heard?
Based on what I heard from Senator Padalano, his statement was basically that this bill would not stop any crimes, that the guns that are being purchased legally are not the problem. It's the guns that's being purchased out of a car or off a street corner. So that was basically what I heard before I was called to a meeting.
Senator DePalma told the Judiciary Committee, that most people in Rhode Island support this legislation, and he cited a poll that the Rhode Island AFL-CIO Commission that found 64% of Rhode Island voters support a ban on the sale and manufacture of, quote, military assault-style weapons. So you're a union guy. What do you think of that poll?
Polls are polls. It's based on how you phrase the question, how you get the response from the
answer. Do you have an issue with how that was phrased, military assault-style weapons?
I don't know how it was phrased. I wasn't questioned on it, so...
Yeah, they call it military assault-style weapons. And I see that you had proposed a bill with a much narrower definition of assault weapons, but it got pulled from the Senate Judiciary Committee agenda. Why was that?
I decided to pull the bill. Since there were several bills that were going to be heard that night, I said there's no sense in pushing that bill. Let's find out what takes place. And my feeling would be that if nothing passes, then I would be looking to form some type of a committee or commission to study it, bring a bunch of people in to discuss, one, what is an assault weapon, what is constitutionally legal, what is not, instead of just putting a bill out. That's if it doesn't pass it. But like I said, the committee has to make its decision after hearing all the testimony and reading all of the literature that came in on it.
And how does your bill differ from Senator De Palma's bill?
My bill differed because it had more or less a military-type destructive weapon, similar to a machine gun, a rifle that can be used to a pull of a trigger would burst 3 shots or go fully automatic at a flip of a switch, versus a semi-automatic weapon.
Would it include an AR-15?
An AR-15, an Armalite rifle?
Yeah.
In Senator De Palma's?
In yours?
It might not. It might not, unless it was altered to configure with a military-type weapon.
And you mentioned a study commission. Senator Lou Raptakis mentioned that during the Senate Judiciary Committee the other day. Is that an idea you favor?
I would favor it, depending on what takes place.
I see that you've asked the Rhode Island Ethics Commission for an advisory opinion. It's going to come up Tuesday on whether you're prohibited from participating in Senate discussions or voting on the assault weapons legislation, given that you hold a license to deal firearms. Why did you ask for that, and why now?
As a new majority leader, I thought it was prudent on my part to ask the commission to look into it. In the past, I was just the chairman of the Labor Committee, so I wasn't really involved in a lot of the Judiciary Committee hearings. This one here, knowing I could go in and out and listen to different things, I thought it was time to officially ask for an opinion from them.
Because you voted on assault weapons ban bills in the past, right?
Not as a leader.
Not as a leader,
Yes.
but you voted against them, right?
Yes.
Why didn't you ask for an opinion then?
I was not the leader that could influence maybe votes in the Senate.
Can you give us an idea? You're a licensed firearm dealer. How many guns do you sell in a given year? Is it a big source of income for you?
No.
No?
No. Usually I sell, if I'm lucky, maybe 1, possibly 2 guns a year. They're sold to people I know, friends. Actually, I sold, prior to him being deceased, Senator Lombardo. I wasn't sure what it was, whether it was classified as a firearm, but it was a receiver. Checking with ATF, they said as long as it had a number on, just listed to be sure that you covered, which we did.
To Senator Lombardo from
Yeah,
Johnston.
yes.
Yeah. Any other members of the Assembly you've sold guns to?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'd have to look, but he's the one that came because he was an avid hunter, and
How long ago was that?
probably maybe I'm going to say he died over a year ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. And I probably derive no money from it. What I do is I tell the individual to look for the weapon he's looking for, get the serial number, the make, give it to me. I will then deal with a wholesaler. And what I purchase the gun for, that's what I sell it to him for. Plus he pays the tax.
So you don't
on it.
make any money on doing this?
No,
Why do
I
you
do
do
not.
it if you're not making money?
I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, what do you enjoy about it?
I'm a hunter, so it keeps me active. And some of the people that I do sell that are my friends, they're hunters with me.
We'll have more with Senator Frank Ciccone after a quick break. When you want to go beyond the headlines, let me recommend Rhode Island PBS Weekly. Rhode Island PBS Weekly is an award-winning news magazine broadcast that gives you the full story, powered by investigative journalism and narrative storytelling. New episodes of Rhode Island PBS Weekly drop Sundays at 7:30 p.m. on Rhode Island PBS. Watch past episodes at ripbs.org/weekly. That's ripbs.org/weekly. Okay, on another topic, on Tuesday, May 20th, casino employees will hold a State House rally to back legislation that would ban smoking at the Lincoln and Tiverton casinos. We talked about this recently. What's
Correct.
your stance on those bills?
Right now, I think I am into the 4th meeting between the parties to try to resolve it. Hopefully, we're coming close I would hope that this next meeting, where proposals have been sent to each side, they'll come to some type of an agreement.
So you're meeting with Bally's and the
I'm
unions?
meeting with Bally's, with the union, meeting with the sponsor of the bill. The Senate president sat in, Senator DePalma from Finance, because there's a fiscal note attached to this. We're trying to resolve it where it will not hurt the state financially.
Yeah, what is the fiscal note? How much would it mean?
There have been two studies. The studies from Bally's shows that if they take a 10% hit, that equates to like $30 million. An independent study done by DBR, by an outside firm, I think it was Christensen, they showed it was $13.7 million. There's concern about, the loss of money to the state, plus, the health of the employees that are there.
What do you say to them about those health concerns?
I believe this all came up after COVID. From the testimony that they've been here on that bill, I think, at least 2 or 3 years. So the testimony that they have provided is that after COVID, all of a sudden they had problems with the smell of smoking in there. Prior to that, there was not a problem. The casino, I believe, right now is probably 35%, this is my estimate, non-smoking. On the dealer tables, seems the individuals on the smoking end don't want to move to the non-smoking end.
So Matt Dunham, president of Table Games Dealers Laborers 711, questioned the validity of the estimate that banning smoke would cost the state millions. He said that that analysis overlooks how many other people would come to the casinos if they stopped allowing smoking in certain sections. What do you say to that?
I look at it this way here. There are 4 casinos that surround us. You have Encore, you have MGM, Foxwood, and also Mohegan. The 4 of them are non-smoking. The appearance and the facade of those casinos those buildings are casinos. Ours is basically a horse track that was converted to a slot parlor that's now, quote, a casino. The other 4 casinos have restaurants that are open constantly. And I'm talking not a Johnny Rockets, not a Subway, but high-end restaurants. The other 4 have shopping areas. Bally's has only a small gift shop. So why are the amount of people coming here?
Is it because they can smoke?
One of the senators at the hearing says because they're addicted to smoking and gambling. I said that might be the case. There was an analogy given that when we eliminated smoking in the restaurants still survived. That's correct. But there was no smoking in restaurants in Connecticut, no smoking in restaurants in Massachusetts, so we were part of it. Where were they going to go? Here you have a facility that's drawing people in that smoke. If you eliminate that, do you really think you're going to retain or increase your non-smokers into a facility that's not in the same manner as the other 4?
Are you a smoker?
No. Occasionally I'll have a cigar when I'm out on the golf course. Occasionally.
So I just read about how the Senate leaders have decided not to block the raises that Governor McKee's seeking from members of his cabinet, including DOT Director Peter Alviti, who's come under fire for the Washington Bridge closure. Why was that?
I think in discussion with some of the senators and the leaders, we felt that the state employees receive raises. My feeling is the reason that this came up is because of the Washington Bridge and Peter Alviti. It's unfortunate that in his reign that the bridge happened. Our concern is fixing the bridge as fast as we can, making it as safe as we can for the people that have to go back and forth in the shortest period of time. I think if Alviti was not in the mix, I don't think there would have been a problem. Knowing that other employees got it and the governor felt that he needs this to retain his people based on the surrounding states, I think the consensus in our leadership was that this isn't a fight that we needed to get in right now.
The House voted 72-0 to block those raises, and the Speaker said, given the current challenging budget outlook as well as the tremendously uncertainty in Washington, the House members feel strongly that we must reject these requested raises. Why are they wrong?
You have a 14-point, I believe, $2 million budget, and we have an approximately $83,000 in raises that come under the executive branch's jurisdiction. I didn't think the Senate wanted to weigh in on that.
Do you think Peter Alviti deserved a raise?
Take the bridge fiasco away, I think he's been doing a good job in the state. We've been fixing roads, bridges, with the exception of Washington Bridge, it's fallen apart. So, unfortunately, I think anyone that was the director at that point in time would be a target.
So you've been a longtime supporter of proposals to raise income taxes on the richest Rhode Islanders. What's your rationale, and do you think that this year is the year that bill passes?
I would probably not to raise taxes on anyone, but knowing some of the concerns that we had with the budget, that was something that we were going to look into. There are a couple of ways of looking at it. Is it a millionaire's tax? Do we need to set a threshold for it? Or is it a 1% tax, which brings it down to about $625,000? I think at the $625,000, I believe there's about 5,700 people in the state that would fall into it. So you're targeting just 5,700 at a lower threshold than what Mass did at a higher one. So we're still looking at it. We're looking at how we can fix the budget. Do we need it? Do we not need it? But everything's on the table.
What do you
right
think?
now.
Are you going to push for that this year?
The discussion has to be held with our advisors and our fiscal advisors, our chairman of finance, and the leadership team.
But you voted for it in the past.
I voted for it in the past.
Earlier this year, you joined Senate Republicans in co-sponsoring a bill to repeal the Act on Climate, which makes the state's goals for reducing greenhouse gas emissions mandatory and enforceable. Why was that?
We have played with that bill. We put 2030 on it of a deadline. Then we kicked it down the road. Then we kick it down the road again. The reason I joined in on it, I said, let's bring it to the table. Let's get some experts in there. Let's not throw a date on there where we know is not realistic. Let's get some people that have knowledge in there and come up with a date that we can stick to, that we can agree that we're going to come to that date and there won't be a problem. That was the only reason I joined in on it.
When you were seeking the Senate Majority Leader's position, a progressive group described you as quote-unquote Trump-lite. They said you're anti-choice, anti-LGBTQ+, anti-gun safety, anti-climate. What did you say to that?
What did I say to that? Well, I had a female that took my position in the laborers, who I guided up until the point that I left and then recommended her for position. She was black. She was part American Indian. She had age. She had, I believe, 7 adopted developmentally disabled children. And she was willing to call people and say, I don't know what you're talking about. As far as the abortion issue, I said, yeah, I voted against abortion. The district that I had back then had 5 Roman Catholic churches and a Hispanic population that wasn't in favor of abortion, nor were they in favor of gay marriage. So do I vote on how I felt personally, or do I vote for how I was elected by my district? So I went with my district.
So the legislative session will wrap up by the end of June. What's your top priority in these final weeks?
I have 2. One is the budget, and one I've been working on is in-state tuition for Rhode Island residents, and that's all residents.
Regardless of immigration status.
Right. Right now, talking to the presidents of the college, CCRI, Rhode Island College, enrollment's down. Also talked to the commissioner, and they kind of agree. Rhode Island's an outlier. I think Mass or Connecticut have a 1-year residency requirement. Connecticut has 6 months, one of the two. The closest one to our 3 years is Alaska, which has 2. So in talking to the governor's staff, I had a 6-month. They would asked if I would be willing to go to 1 year, and I said I could probably make that move.
All right, Senator Ciccone, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. It was nice being here.
Rhode Island Report is a production of the Boston Globe in collaboration with Rhode Island PBS. Today's episode was produced by Megan Hall. Audio mixing and mastering by Marissa Ewing of Hemlock Creek Productions. Our music is from APM. Be sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. I'm Ed Fitzpatrick. See you next week. Looking to binge watch all your favorite PBS shows? You need Rhode Island PBS Passport. Masterpiece, Antiques Roadshow, Rhode Island PBS Weekly, and many more. Watch them all, anytime, and from any streaming device. Learn more about this member benefit at ripbs.org